Hi, this is Amelia Vandervelde. I will be talking about culture and motivation with regards to my global learning project. I had my second interaction with Agnes earlier this week, and we dug deeper into these two aspects of her life. So, with regards to motivation, it was very personal based for her. She wanted to continue her education because she wanted to have this personal gain and better her future and better the future of her children and other aspects of her life. She also was the first of eight children out of her family to go to college, and that was a big motivator to be a role model and have people like her siblings and other nieces, nephews to look up to her. Prior to this, the only jobs that people in her country could typically hold were blue collar jobs, very much technical jobs and training, going to work, things like that. And she knew that she wanted something more out of her life and was really motivated by this idea to continue her education and to go to the United States to receive a more adequate education. And then with regards to culture, Agnes was able to attend an American university school in Tanzania for high school. So she really didn't get that type of culture shock that we would expect from a non-United States citizen coming into the United States. She more experienced it when switching from her normal school to the American school within her own country. She said that at the beginning of the school year, she was very much secluded and by herself and felt uncomfortable. It was the first time that she was in a predominantly white school, and that was a big shock to her and just made things much different. And this was actually the first time that she'd ever been out of her country, was traveling to the United States. She mentioned that she had always expected the big New York type scene, skyscrapers, things like that. So she said that she was very surprised when she came into Michigan. She flew into the Detroit airport first, and was like, oh, like saw these like huge buildings, and then from there she flew into the Lansing airport, which is much more secluded, much more different. And she was very like, oh my goodness, like where am I? What is this? She also mentioned that the biggest culture shock to her was language. Uh, that transition from her original schooling to the new American school, her native language was Swahili, and now the students were speaking mostly English, and that was a big shock and a big adjustment for her. She, excuse me, she was intimidated by this aspect and felt like an outsider. It took about 6 to 7 months into the schooling for her to start to feel comfortable and to really adjust to these new standards and aspects of the school. The teachers were also much different. She mentioned that her original teachers were somebody that were intimidating. You couldn't go to talk to them, and now she was able to negotiate with teachers if she disagreed with a grade and have like a type of relationship with the teachers. Another thing that was a big culture shock was the weather. Tanzania's climate is extremely warm and hot, and when she came to the United States, it was summertime, and so originally it was that warm climate, but when winter hit, it was a huge mind-blowing experience. She was really excited to see snow for the first time, but of course she had to get new clothes and all this other things, and it was just a big adjustment and interesting thing to experience for her. Another thing that she mentioned when coming to the United States is how much advanced the technology was. She said that herself and some of her friends that she knew who were also international students had a really tough time getting used to things like D2L and WebWorks, and they often would go to their professors and ask if they could turn something in paper and pen instead of digital, which is understandable because they didn't have these resources available to her. Another thing that was a big change was the food. She said that in the cafeterias, there's always burgers, pizza, all this type of food that you can always have access to. She said in her country, those were rich foods. Those were people who could afford that, were wealthy, and typically that wasn't the type of food they were eating. And so it was kind of vice versa in the United States, where these burgers, pizzas, sandwiches were seen as lower value than things such as steak and lobster, whereas in her country that was the highest standard. She said that a lot of students, a lot of international students ended up gaining weight because of this. She managed to keep her similar weight. She was one of the lucky ones. Another thing that I wanted to address was regarding Agnes, was when I asked her, there's an extra credit opportunity in this project, and I asked her if there was anything that she wanted to experience that she hadn't. And I think this relates to culture in a way, and so I figured I would share it in my global learning project part 2. When I asked her if there was something that she had never done, she said that she wanted to fall in love. And she said this in a very innocent, sweet way, and that she felt that in her past relationships within her country, that the one in a relationship, the men automatically were superior. If you started dating somebody, these men were in charge of your decisions and what you wear and what you do. And so to her, it was a huge culture shock to see these other relationships where the man and the woman are equal. And I thought that was really interesting, that that's what she wanted, and just to feel on the same playing level as men. I also was very intrigued about the technology difficulties, because personally I still struggle with some of these D2L web work applications, and I can imagine going from a country that always is using paper pencil and then switches over to these digital means of homework assignments and whatnot. Overall, this interaction was very eye-opening. It was really interesting to hear about what she expected and what she was surprised about, and I look forward to taking Agnes on another interaction. Thank you.